Welcome to the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, telling the unique stories that make up the diverse fabric of Pennsylvania.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Start Here, America Did podcast. I'm your host, Sydney Harris-White, and we've got another great story from the Commonwealth to share. So the holidays are over, and we've just welcomed in the new year, 2026. I can't believe I just said that, 2026. With a new year comes a chance for renewal, new goals, new hobbies, new adventures. And some of you might still be figuring out what part of yourselves you want to grow or explore in this next season of life. Well, our guest in today's episode may just have that spark of inspiration you've been looking for. Today, I am beyond thrilled to welcome Michael Hermann, founder of Purple Lizard Maps. One of the things I loved while speaking with Mike is that in his email signature, he lists his position within the Department of Adventure. It's a fun detail that perfectly captures the spirit of Purple Lizard Maps, an organization built on the joy of exploration, connection with nature, and preservation of Pennsylvania's incredible landscapes. Mike's here to talk about the founding of Purple Lizard Maps, what makes them so unique, and how a love of adventure turned into a lifelong mission to help others discover the beauty of Pennsylvania's landscapes and beyond. Let the journey begin. Mike, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate having me.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. You developed your first official Purple Lizard map in 1997 of Rothrock State Forest. As the founder, why did you find value in creating these maps, and what inspired you?
In the 1990s, I knew that Pennsylvania had world-class recreation, but I also knew not many people realized that. Out west was getting all the attention, mountain biking in Colorado, big trail systems in Utah, but I knew that Pennsylvania's forests had just as much adventure, and it was often more accessible. So I made the first map simply because I really love making maps. I love the design process. I love the visual storytelling. I really appreciate that I'm creating something real, something that people can use, that you can pick up and touch, own, share, things like that. And you can have a really meaningful experience with it. I like to say that every Purple Lizard map comes with unlimited free adventure. And I wanted to make a map that welcomed everybody. There's a lot of maps out there that maybe they're just a hiking map, or they're just a paddling map, just a mountain bike map. I wanted to basically open that landscape to all the things you could do on public land, because most people do more than one activity like that. So I wanted it to open up to all the sort of anybody that was curious about exploring public land, they could see what was out there. And it was mainly, I think all of that is a result just that I fell in love with outdoors as a kid. I grew up riding bicycles, rock climbing, hiking, exploring the woods. The timing was really interesting because I was one of the first digital cartographers from Penn State Geography. I got a job right out of college working for Trails Illustrated, National Geographic Maps, and they were the best in the business at the time. Eventually, I left that job because I wanted to take the time to make a better map, and I really wanted to put Pennsylvania on the national stage for outdoor recreation.
What was it like building that first map? Can you walk us through the process of building it and the reaction you received once it was published?
Certainly. I mean, that map was a total labor of love. I mean, I'd quit a perfectly reasonable job, a professional cartography job to do it. So I went freelance as a freelance cartographer. I worked nights to create it. And this was the late 90s. I mean, this was floppy disks. This was very slow computers. And there was no clearinghouse of digital data the way there is today. So to make that first map, and this was the workflow, I mean, this was the process that I was taught to do at Penn State. I scanned the USGS topo maps that comprised that Rothrock State Forest area. And then I drew every road and trail by hand, using the mouse, manually entered all the text. And I got the inspiration because when I was out west working, there was a cottage industry of sort of boutique outdoor maps, rec maps, trail maps, by small companies, husband-wife companies, individuals. That didn't exist on the East Coast. There wasn't any high-quality rec maps available in Pennsylvania of our forests. There were the free maps you get from DCNR, and there were the USGS topo maps, but there wasn't anything specific to that. So, when I wanted to sort of start this company, it was my friends and family that helped make it possible. They helped in a variety of ways, including some seed money to get it started. And then when the map came out, people were just kind of blown away by it. It had a terrain relief model. So that's kind of taken for granted now, but where you can see the height of the mountains with the shadows on one side. That didn't really exist at the time, so that was new technology, and it made the map look 3D. So you'd pull it out and people would go touch it, thinking it actually had like a height to it. What that map did was it unlocked Rothrock for a whole new generation of explorers to go out there, whether that was mountain bikers or hikers, individuals, families. The other thing that map did for me, career-wise, was it really elevated me on sort of the national stage as a cartographer. And so that led me to leave Pennsylvania because I accepted a job with the University of Maine to design the historical atlas of Maine. So I moved to Maine for that project, and I thought maybe the lizard might fade away. But actually it didn't. The Rothrock map kept selling and it kept building a following.
And just from a personal note, I did go to Penn State and I did use that exact Rothrock forest map to hike that forest. And it was really incredible. So even me going 20 years later to Penn State, I still used that map and it was still brought to us in the hiking club. So
excellent. And that was the intention. So that's so fantastic.
Yeah.
That it fell into your hands and it let you see a landscape.
Right.
I mean, when I was at Penn State, it was interesting because I knew what was out there. Like when you're at Penn State and you look up and you see these big ridge lines in the distance. And I realized that a lot of my fellow students didn't know that they could go there.
Right.
They didn't know there was a trail on that ridge that traversed the entire state of Pennsylvania. The Mid-State Trail was right there. So I sort of got that sense also just as a geography student. When I was in college, I wasn't thinking of making my own maps and my own map company. I was trying to learn how to make maps, but it was definitely very obvious to me that even within geographers at Penn State, they would look at those ridges and not really understand that it was public land and how incredibly accessible it was.
And I love that spirit of accessibility. And you did also mention that these maps kind of thrusted you onto a national stage. So from those early days in State College, Purple Lizard Maps has grown into an award-winning, nationally recognized cartography company. How did that growth happen? I know you said you were in Maine. And what have been some of those key milestones along the way?
Well, after publishing that first map, I did leave Pennsylvania. I moved to Maine, and I worked on a lot of other cartography projects for about a decade with the University of Maine, actually a little longer. But the Rothrock map, it kept thriving because, like yourself, people continued to discover it, use it, share it. It took on a life of its own. It really resonated with the new generation of explorers. Once I created this atlas, worked with the University of Maine for a decade or so, we published the Historical Atlas of Maine, and it won a lot of awards and accolades in geography. In 2011, I met my wife, Justine, and together we decided to give Purple Lizard a little more energy and see if it could grow beyond Rothrock. So within a few years after that, we were committed to it full time. So we were adding new maps of other state forests. We developed the website, we expanded online sales, and then we built a really strong network of local dealers across the state. And that growth was pretty steady. It was deliberate. It was grounded in relationships and a shared love for exploration. Because I think what we realized was that Purple Lizard was becoming more than a business. It was really a community. And that stands today. It's kind of an amazing community of outdoor adventurers who use our maps. They're hiking, they're riding bicycles, they're paddling, they're exploring. I mean, that's kind of at the heart of Purple Lizard Maps. It's their enthusiasm, their feedback, their support. That's really what continues to drive us. Today we have 19 maps. Now we're not just in PA, we're West Virginia, Ohio, Maryland. We even have a map of Rincon, Puerto Rico, and we're still expanding, and every map is still field verified, handcrafted. It's still sort of designed with that same standard of care, that same labor of love that carries through from the very first one.
And on a personal level, what was it like to see people? You said that they became more of a community, and I actually saw that at Penn State in the club when talking about Purple Lizard Maps. What was it like to see people become so enamored with your maps, your routes and designs?
It's incredibly satisfying to see people embrace the maps. It's satisfying to know that Purple Lizard really helped put Pennsylvania on the outdoor recreation landscape. Seeing people still go out and discover that means a lot to us. For me, the maps connect the people to the land, right? And so that connection is what fosters stewardship. When people start to care deeply about these places, once they get to know them, that's what sort of changes the dynamic, right? That means it's not just, oh, we went to the state park and we had a picnic and we left. When people really get to know a place and they start to take care of it and they want to go back to it and they want to explore it more, they take sort of a little bit of personal pride and ownership in it, and it's a place they want to revisit. We've been pretty honored to be consistently recognized by the national cartographic community just for design excellence in the last couple decades. But really, it's that recognition from peers that I think means a great deal. And the best recognition comes directly from our community, hearing people's stories, seeing their excitement. That's kind of the real reward. I mean, just like you mentioned, that curiosity of trying to figure out what's around the next corner, I mean, that's what inspired me to start it. And that's still what drives me today.
And your maps are a blend of old world artistry and modern digital design. I mean, you said that you were working with new technology even in 1997 for that first map. What does that process actually look like? And what makes Purple Lizard maps stand out so much from the others?
I think we are still making some of the most beautiful and functional recreation maps in the field today. It starts in the studio. So in the studio, we're gathering all the data we can find. We cross-check it with existing maps and guidebooks. We go out of our way to build really strong relationships with the land managers, with the trail clubs, and with locals. And I think that's what really sets our maps apart, is that we're out there. We're not sort of an armchair map company making a map from a distance. We're out there in the field. We're exploring the landscapes that we're mapping. We hike, we ride bikes, we paddle, we go camping. So we're doing that as part and parcel of exploring this landscape as we're putting the map together, right? So it's sort of like when you're from a distance working on a map, you have all these questions like that you can't really answer. Is there a boat launch there? Like, is it a real boat launch? Is it a mucky hand carry launch? Like, what's going on? So I think, when the explorer is also the cartographer, the maps are going to be more accurate and more personal, because they are informed by our experience on the ground.
Right. And I did see on your website, you even will take furry friends with you to help explore. So it really adds that touch of personality and it being so, your maps are your design, your heart, and it's very cool. They're more than just tools for navigation. They really create a connection between people and place. Why do you think that tangible connection to the great outdoors is so important in today's world?
I think it's really important in today's world because right now, I think more than ever, it's really easy to lose touch with what's real. We're absolutely overloaded with information, whether it's news, screens, noise. Most of it doesn't help us feel grounded or connected. I think getting outside really resets the mind. It's healing. It's humbling. We weren't built to sit inside and stare at screens all day. That's not a part of our DNA. I think when you're out in nature, that just engages every sense that we have. That's what you need to sort of restore your balance. It's humbling. It reminds us who we are. It lets us actually look, touch, feel, smell, immerse ourselves in nature, which is like really the best way to sort of reconnect. And it doesn't matter if our maps just open up the opportunity for somebody to go to a state park and do a short little hike or just sit peacefully for a little bit and reset, or go on a simple 5-mile rail trail ride or a 100-mile gravel bike ride, right? Or a 5-day backpacking trip across the state. Whatever it is, just to actually get back out in nature. It's the best way to reset us.
And you also mentioned that getting people out in nature allows them to become stewards of the place that they're in. So I would love to talk about conservation, and Purple Lizard is a proud member of 1% for the Planet and a partner with Tread Lightly. Why has it been important for you to give back to the landscapes that you map?
You can't separate outdoor recreation from conservation. Those two things go hand in hand. A lot of people don't necessarily see that or understand that when they first go out into the forest. They just assume the forest is here.
Right.
I can go do things in it, right? They don't necessarily know maybe how to act. They don't necessarily know what the principles are, best practice principles are to be out there. So stewardship of public lands by the public, I mean, that is the single most important factor in keeping these spaces open and thriving. So we're really proud to support organizations like 1% for the Planet and Tread Lightly, but also like our local Pennsylvania-based partners like the Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation, Pennsylvania Environmental Council, Keystone Trails Association, like these organizations, and the countless volunteers that sort of they bring into this picture. They do the hands-on work that actually maintains the trails, that protects the forest, that strengthens access for everybody. And there's a misconception that somehow DCNR, the state parks, have a crew that opens up all these trails and keeps them nice, and that's not it. It's regular people. It's people volunteering to do that on their own time. And certainly a lot of those are our customers. They play a huge role in this. And I think through our maps and those partnerships and the storytelling, we can connect more people to those conservation and trail organizations, because it's not just a business for us. I mean, that's part of our value. We want to get people out in the forest. We want to get them to appreciate it, to understand how to act in it, and to help take care of it.
And your maps really have grown to cover large regions. So many of them start in Pennsylvania and have expanded throughout the Appalachian and Allegheny regions. And I know somebody probably who is listening to this podcast will not like how I said Appalachian. I know there's different ways of saying it, but and I'm interested to see how you'll say it. But how do you decide which areas to map next? And what makes a location lizard worthy?
We are often guided by our community. I mean, people are constantly sending us suggestions of regions that they'd like us to map. Some of those might have already been on our radar, and certainly if they're in sort of Pennsylvania or the Mid-Atlantic region, they're more accessible. We certainly get a lot of people that used our maps here for years, and then they moved, and now they're in a state, and they can't find a resource like that. So we do get people who are like, when are you going to come to North Dakota? When are you going to do Utah? When are you coming to Tennessee? But a lizard-worthy area, that's one that's got a strong sense of place. It has to have a lot of public lands, beautiful terrain, and have all the opportunities for shared use experiences, so for hiking, cycling, for equestrian use, for just getting out there and exploring. We do look for areas that connect or build on our existing map. So there's a sense of sort of organic growth where there's an overlap. So if you started on the Rothrock map and you really like that map and you get used to it and you see, oh, well, here is the Moshannon-Quahana map, or here is the Bald Eagle State Forest map, and then here is the Tuscarora map, here's the Pine Creek map, and they all overlap on each other a little bit. So you can sort of get this, you can just broaden your horizons even more by going out and exploring those bigger networks. And I think, an exciting example right now is our current partnership with the PA Wilds and DCNR, because we're developing a series of maps that will sort of fill in the blanks with our existing maps, but it will cover the PA Wilds. And the PA Wilds is over 2 million acres of land up there. So it's a huge project. It's a complicated project. When that series of maps are done, people will really get to see how all those forests are interconnected in this whole northern tier of Pennsylvania. The way our maps are structured now, we have close to blanket coverage in central PA from Wellsboro and the Pine Creek Rail Trail and that northern part of the Mid-State Trail south to Michaud State Forest. I think there's maybe 6 or 7 of our maps that overlap. So you could literally get in your car and just start driving and go from one map to one map to one map if you have enough time.
So by the end of this, I'm hearing you might be mapping out all of Pennsylvania.
There are certainly big swaths of Pennsylvania that we would love to do some maps of.
That's amazing. And one of the reasons why your maps are so well known is because of their durability, creativity, and personality. How do you and your team balance the science of mapping with the art of storytelling?
I think if we have a secret ingredient, it's just time. We give our maps time to evolve. And That's tricky, right? Because we're in a world that doesn't necessarily respect time. We want things to be done yesterday and done fast. So people often, you're still working on that map. Well, it does. I mean, we easily spend over a year working on a map. The durability factor, our maps, they're referred to as paper maps, but they're actually printed on sort of a hybrid substrate. So it's a waterproof, tear-resistant material. So we routinely have people tell us they love their map. And, they've been using the same map for 10 years or 15 years, and they've got all their notes on it. And they're sort of curious, I saw you did a new edition. Should we update it? What's new on it? What's different? Most modern maps, especially in the digital era, they're just automatically generated. They're just spit out, and the raw data is often wrong. It certainly doesn't tell a full story about anything. It's just data. So one of the fundamental flaws with that approach today, with what we see with GPSs and online trail resources and things like that, they don't tell you if a road is four-wheel drive. They don't know if the road is gated. They don't necessarily even know if the road is public.
Right.
So, and again, that's the stuff that we learn when we're on the ground in the field. So because we don't have that data when we bring in all that raw data, it doesn't have that information either. That's the value added that we put to it. And that's combining the technology with our field work, with the local knowledge and the experience of us actually being out there on that road and going, oh, wow, I just drove for 4 miles and the road stops with a gate.
Right.
None of the other maps seem to suggest that. So I guess we're turning around. So we want to make sure that that going into it. And that's, we're visiting those landscapes. We're talking with the people who live there, with the people who work there. They're sharing their stories. We're making our own stories as we're having these experiences. And that's really how we decide what's true, what's important, what actually belongs on that map. So the end result is this really highly curated, field verified map that's useful. And it's also beautiful. It's a tool. It's a tool that helps people understand a landscape, not just navigate it, not just get through it.
One of the things, and we've talked about, is the maps are so intricate because you've been there, you've experienced it. And so I'd love to hear on a personal level, what are some of your favorite Pennsylvania spots to map or explore? Places that continue to inspire you after all of these years?
Well, Rothrock will always have a special place in my heart, of course, because that's where it all began. And to some extent, that's where I live.
Right.
So Justine and I, we live right between Rothrock and Bald Eagle State Forest in a 1860s log cabin. So we are in less than a mile. I can be on a dirt forestry road.
On theme.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're lucky to have that level of adventure right outside our door, and that never gets old. That's by design, and we very much appreciate having that resource to just walk around the corner and be in Rothrock State Forest, walking next to a stream on a dirt forestry road with options to disappear into the woods on trails and such. So, but recently, this last year, we've been mapping the PA wilds. We've been mapping, the first one's a map of Susquehannock State Forest. So that picks up where our Pine Creek map ends and goes west. The geography of that part of the PA wilds, it's roughly Route 6 runs across the top with Coudersport and Gailton. And Renovo, Route 120, runs across the southern bottom, Heiner State Park, and towns of Emporium, Cross Fork. And these are really small towns. It's absolutely beautiful. This is some of the most remote, wild, and beautiful landscapes in the state. So for us to be out there mapping them and figuring them out, it's very complex, but it's incredibly rewarding. Making these maps, being out there knowing that other people are going to be able to use this map next year and go out and find some of these great vistas and these great overlooks and explore this forest.
At America 250 PA, it's our mission to highlight the people, places, and aspects of Pennsylvania that make it so special. Your maps do the same, showcasing the trails, wildlife, and outdoor spaces that define the Commonwealth's natural beauty. How do you see Purple Lizard maps helping people connect more deeply with Pennsylvania's story and landscape?
I think our maps give people the big picture of Pennsylvania. I mean, certainly specifically, we have a map of the state of Pennsylvania, right? So that's the biggest picture of Pennsylvania, all the public lands and all the state parks and the water trails and the rail trails and such in one document. So that map's amazing to really understand Pennsylvania. And it blows people away because when they look at that, they realize how much public land there is and how many rail trails there are. And they can also get a grasp of like, oh, well, if this rail trail could connect to that one and that could connect to that one, like, wouldn't that be amazing? We could string this whole distance together. So I think when anybody opens our maps, regardless of whether it's just the state forest or the whole state, you start to see how the forests and the rivers and the parks and the towns are all connected. GPS gets you to a place, but it doesn't help you understand the place. So our maps help you understand the place. It puts those communities in context. I mean, that's what's meaningful about being a map maker. It's about the connection and the context and the discovery. So it's not just about the destination. It's about the journey through Pennsylvania's living, breathing landscape and those communities around it. And we talk about communities as gateway communities, like you're going to go through this gateway community and enter the forest. But we also want people to stop in those communities.
Right.
You know, those communities are destinations also. So when you use our map and you open it up, and we're going to show these other interesting objects and places and things on it, so you'll put together a route that's not even a route that an automatic GPS would know how to create, because all that's going to do is give you the fastest route.
Oh, I love that. GPS gives you the fastest route. Purple Lizard Maps gives you the in-depth, beautiful route that you can take.
Yes, exactly.
And so to end today's episode, I would love to ask you, for those listening who are really ready to start their next outdoor adventure, what message would you share about what it means to explore, connect, and discover with a Purple Lizard map in hand?
Well, I would say just try it. I mean, see how a Purple Lizard map changes your outdoor experience, because our maps are going to turn a simple trip into an engaged trip, into an engaged escape. So you become an active participant, not just a passenger. You know, you're going to find those hidden gems, because on our maps, we're going to show the waterfalls, the overlooks, things like covered bridges, cultural landmarks. So that really makes the journey richer, you know, because you're going to take the time to stop and walk around that area for a few minutes. You know, you're going to actually experience that waterfall. You're going to experience that covered bridge. We're going to include the trailheads and campsites, boat launches and rail trails and things like that. So you can really plan a more comprehensive adventure depending on whatever your focus is. And we love hearing how people string that together. You know, folks use our Pine Creek map to do more than one thing, meaning you can drive up into Pine Creek, pull over at a boat launch, take your bicycles out and lock them to the bike rack, and then continue driving up a few miles to another boat launch, and there leave your car and get in your boat and paddle down and then pull your boats out and then get on your bicycles and ride your bicycles on the Pine Creek Rail Trail back to your car.
Oh, wow.
So like you can put together this whole idea where you can make your own adventure. And I think that's the real value of a Purple Lizard map, is it really helps people see things and put things together. Along with it, you know, it helps people slow down. It helps you explore. It helps you discover really what's been right there all along, but you didn't see.
And I do want to ask, and I haven't told you I was going to ask you this, but my apologies. I saw in your email signature, you refer to your work as the Department of Adventure.
Yes.
I love that. What is that? How did you come up with that?
I did come up with that, and we have that on the side of our truck. It is the Department of Adventure with Purple Lizard maps. Again, sort of like looking at my corporate jobs, you know, I worked in departments.
Right.
You know, most of us do.
Right.
And then when I thought, well, what does this look like now? Now I have a little design studio where we're in here designing maps in the computers, but then we're spending a lot of time in the truck driving around, finding these places, mapping these places. So it's all about adventure. I mean, we're always making the map as an adventure, and then the finished product ends up giving people the opportunity to have an adventure.
Well, that is so amazing. And that is all I have for you today, Michael. I would like to thank you so much for being here and talking with us about your passion, your work, and the amazing product that is Purple Lizard Maps. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And Pennsylvania is an absolutely amazing state to explore.
A single map in 1997 sparked a movement of adventure, creativity, and connection. Purple Lizard Maps is an ode to finding the magic in our own backyards. Adventure doesn't need to take us 1,000 miles away. It begins with a new perspective and a deeper admiration for our home. Because honestly, the greatest discoveries may just be around the corner. Mike's dedication to preserving and celebrating Pennsylvania's landscapes turns his maps into invitations. Invitations to slow down, to look closer, and to rediscover the beauty that surrounds us. And if you have a map, pay attention to the spots that have a purple lizard. You may just find your next adventure. As we continue into 2026 and look toward America's 250th anniversary, may we all take a page from one of the Purple Lizard maps. Step outside, explore a new trail, support the natural spaces that make our Commonwealth so special. If you'd like to learn more about Purple Lizard Maps, head on over to purplelizard.com. Thank you again to Mike Hermann and the team at Purple Lizard Maps for helping us see Pennsylvania not just as a place where we live, but a place to be embraced. May we all join Mike's Department of Adventure. To our listeners, may this new year be full of adventure, discovery, and connection with our great Commonwealth. I'm Sydney Harris-White, reminding you to stay PA proud.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra Coleman, Executive Director of America 250 PA. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. We encourage you to learn more about America 250 PA and send us your podcast ideas at america250pa.org.
This has been the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, produced by Commonwealth Media Services. Stay tuned for more epic Pennsylvania stories at america250pa.org.